new changes to your application that broke it, and then perhaps you try to solve it by deploying a new code, or you try to roll back your changes. This can be a pain sometimes, right? And customers will probably not wait for you to reverse your changes, right? Now, sometimes the way we solve this is by having different environments. So you might have maybe a dev environment where, let's just say, you test your setup before you deploy to production, right? That is still not a fail-safe because issues can still happen in production, right? Now, normally teams might go about it by, let's just say, deploying new code or using whatever CI/CD pipeline that they have to basically reverse the changes to the code that they have made, right? Now, Google Cloud Run comes with all of this bundled in it, right? So you have features in Google Cloud Run that allows you to be able to reverse or roll back changes that you have made, and this is what we are going to explore. So what we have here is back to our sample notes. So this is a simple Cloud Run service, and basically once you launch it, you should get an application like this, and what you can do is you can basically add notes, right? And these notes are basically saved in your browser. Now, when you basically click on a service on Cloud Run, this is what you get. This is what you're able to see, right? If you want to see the revisions of your application, you can just click on the revisions tab right here. Now, revisions are basically versions of your application. So each time you deploy a new version of your application, maybe you've made new changes to your application and then you deploy it, that will then deploy a new revision. So as you can see at the moment, we only have one revision, right? So what we can do is we want to kind of deploy a new revision for our application. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the code base, and then I'm just going to make a simple change. So you can see here that this, this has, some subheading here, right? So I will just add some text here and then say this is my new local change, right? So let's just say something like that. So let's just go with something like this. So I've made a new change. Now I can go ahead to build my application once more. Okay, so we have our new application. We will now basically tag that new application. So we are going to do docker image ls. I just want to grab the repository name. So we'll just say docker tag. Yeah, and then we'll just do a docker push. So this should then push the new changes of our application to artifact registry, right? So now we have the new changes of our application deployed. What we can do is we can go ahead to edit and deploy a new revision, right? So we click on edit and deploy a new revision. Now by default, once you deploy a new revision, Google Cloud Run will just go ahead to serve 100% of the traffic to the new revision, which is the new version of your application, right? And so what we can do here is let's first select our new image. So we will come over here, you will click on select, we will go to the apps, and then we'll go to my sample notes, and then we'll select the latest version, which is deployed just now. We'll select that. But what we'll do is we'll tell Cloud Run, okay, don't deploy this revision immediately, right? So don't send 100% of the traffic to the new version. You can decide to send 100% of the traffic to the new version if you want, which by default Google Cloud Run does. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we will just deploy it without sending 100% of the traffic to it, right? So now as you can see, the new revision has been deployed, but still the traffic is going to the old version of our application. So I can just go ahead to refresh this, and you should see that the new text that I added is not showing, right? So that is basically because we are not serving 100% of the traffic to our new revision, right? Now we are going to try something, which is we are going to add tags to our revision. So this new revision, we are just going to click on it, and we are going to say manage revision tag, and then we are just going to call it, let's just say local text. Let's just say something like that. And then we are going to save that. So this is basically going to add a tag to your new change, right? Let's still visit our application to see, right? So this is still showing the old version, right? Because we've not set 100% of traffic to it. So we can click on this URL now. This would then allow us to basically visit the new version, which now shows the text changes, right? So this can be a way for you to basically test new changes that you make, right? So you can create a new revision. You can go ahead to add different tags to your new revision, and then you can visit that revision to basically test out your changes, right? And once you are sure that, okay, these are the changes that I want, you can go ahead to then switch your application to the new revision, right? Because as it stands, users will still accessing users who are accessing my application will still not be able to see the new changes. So I can go ahead to use this revision with my tag, and then I can go ahead to just test that revision, share it out to whoever I need to kind of give access to the new change, and then go ahead to test it. And once I am done and I'm certain that, okay, this is what I want, then I can go ahead to switch traffic to that new revision, right? So now we can click on the revision actions, and then we can try to go to manage traffic, right? Now you have several options here, which is to serve 100% of the traffic to the new revision, or to serve a certain percentage, right? So what we will try out here is we'll try out 50% to the old revision and 50% to the new revision, right? So what we are basically saying is that when a user visits our site, they have, a 50% chance of seeing the old version and a 50% chance of seeing the new version, right? So this can be a way you gradually roll out new changes for your application without necessarily having to send 100% traffic to the new version. So you can first roll out the changes. Maybe you can do it, let's say 10%, right? And then based on user feedback, you can gradually start increasing that traffic percentage, right? So we will try 50%, right? So you can see here, this automatically switches to 50%. So 50-50. So let's just try that. Now, as you can see here, we now have 50% of the traffic going here, 50% of the traffic going here, right? So without visiting our tag URL, if we then visit the main application URL, not the tagged one, let's try visiting the main application URL. Let's refresh. Let's refresh. Right. Okay. So you can see that I am seeing the new one. Right. And if I visit again, I'm still seeing the new one. Visit again, I'm still seeing the new one. Still seeing the new one. Still seeing the new one. Right. So there is just a chance that you're going to see the old one, and then there's a chance that you're going to see the new one. Right. So yes, you can see here, I'm still seeing the old one. Still seeing the old one. Now I see the new one. Right. So there's a 50% chance that the person can see the old one, or the person can see the new one, right? So you can use this percentage to then determine how you want to roll out the new changes to your users. So once I'm confident that, okay, this works well, I can then go ahead to click on manage traffic, and I can basically now switch 100% to the new one, right? You cannot go above 100, of course. So I can now switch 100% to the new version and then save that. Right. So when I refresh the application, I should then only see the new version, right? So I only see the new version of the application, not the old one, right? So this is one way you can manage changes to your application, right? So this then allows you to first test out new changes by using revision tags and then basically visiting certain revisions to just view that those changes. And then you can gradually also shift the traffic from previous versions and new versions, right? Now let us test out how to handle bugs and how to basically handle make sure that if you have a bug you can basically roll back to the previous version, right? So let us say reverse this change right here, right? And then we are going to introduce a bug in our application. So what we are going to do, let's see right here, we are just going to throw an error, right? We are just going to do something very simple, which is just throw an error. So I'm just going to do this very badly, I think, but let's just see. I'm just going to throw an error. This application is down, right? Let's just throw an error at the very top of the application. Now let's build a new image. So once the new version is built, we will just tag that new version once more, and then we will just basically push that new version of the application. Right, I think it probably would have been better to simulate this in a different way. I just want to see something that probably I could have done. Okay, this is fine. This is fine. Let's just see how this works. I wanted to rather do it when you try to add a new item, but let's just go with what we have here. Yeah, so back to our service once more. Now we try to then deploy our new version, right? So let's try to deploy our new version, right? So I'm just simulating an error here, right? But in the usual application that you would have, you would not actually roll out an error to your users. So we will just go ahead and then we will just select the latest version. We just say select that. We will select to immediately serve this revision, right? So send 100% of traffic to the revision. We go to deploy. So the new revision has been deployed. Now let's try visiting it to see. Right. So you can see, I think we are probably experiencing the error. So as you can see here, there is an error that basically says our application is down. So this might be an example of what might happen in an actual live application where your users visit your application and it's no longer responding, right? And you might get complaints, over email, social media, and whatnot. Now, how do you handle this, right? So ideally, you might just rush to go to your application, make the changes, and then spend all of this time, pushing the new changes. Or you might, if you are using Git, you might maybe reverse your commit and then go back to the previous one, right? Or whatever CI/CD pipeline or tooling you are using, that is what we probably fall back to, right? But what Cloud Run allows us to do is, because we have these revisions of previous versions of our application, we are basically able to switch the traffic to the previous version. So say, right now we are getting a lot of, we are getting a lot of messages from our clients that, oh, the build is failing. We actually also go out to check it and realize, oh, this is actually failing, right? Now, one way is, for us to come to the code base, remove or try to find out whatever is causing the error, remove that, and deploy the new version of the application. But then that would also take time, right? So what we can do is we come to Cloud Run and then we look at, what is the previous version, or what was the previous version that was working, right? So in this case, we have version 4. So we can just come back to version 4. We go to manage traffic, and then we can just switch 100% of the traffic to version 4, right? And we save this. Now this should take a few seconds, and we should have the new version of our application, basically pointing to a previous one. So as you can see here with the green check mark, you can see here that 100% of the traffic is now pointing to the previous version. So we can basically refresh the page, and now we see that, okay, the application is working well, right? So we are able to resolve our users complaints immediately, and then we can in the background try to fix this issue. We fix this issue, we can go ahead to create a new version of the application, right? And then deploy that new version, right? And once we are done, we can switch the traffic to that new version, right? But Cloud Run allows us to basically be able to do this without needing, any external tooling or any CI/CD management pipeline. Just visit your application, you come to revisions, and you are able to basically manage the traffic. You can dictate which version of your application should be serving 100% of your traffic. You can share the traffic amongst different versions, and if you have an error in a certain version of your application, you can always roll back as easily as you can, right? So that is how you basically handle traffic routing when you come to Cloud Run. And this makes it very easy for me when I build applications, because I then don't need to worry about, okay, so there is an issue. What do? I know, okay, I can quickly roll back, right? So this can be very good for situations where you probably even don't want to build your application for multiple environments, right? Of course, depending on the complexity of your application, if you are looking at an application like, let's just say, maybe Stripe dashboard or something like that, then you will probably want to have different or multiple environments, right? But if you are looking at a simple application, maybe your marketing website or something like that, you can just use a single environment, right? When you deploy new changes, you can basically get a revision tag, share that with your shareholders, whoever needs to basically test your application. You can share that with them. They test it, everything works all right, and then you can go ahead to just switch 100% traffic to that new version, right? All without touching some CI/CD pipeline or anything like that, and you can make the changes within a few seconds.